we're going to be playing some Farming Simulator 19. Now, I am very much a new player to this game. I put some time into it and I've done a decent amount of research with the game, so I have a pretty good understanding of what I need to do, but this is a game that has a very big learning curve to it. Although some of the ideas of it are straightforward, there's a lot of interactions with various things that take some getting used to, and as a result, I feel like every time I play this game, I learn something new. So that's what we're going to try and go through. We're going to try and play through this game. I've got a kind of a game plan of what I want to do, and we'll go from there. So we're going to go ahead and start up a new game. Now, I've already put this in my title, but just to be clear, I'm not going to be using any mods with this playthrough. I'm still a new player. I want to learn the game as is, but I will point out I do have all of the DLC that exists for the game. I picked this up during the Steam Summer Sale, so I got a lot of that on discount, so I was happy to do so, and it does add a decent amount of functionality to this game. But this is also very much a game that has a huge mod community to it. It has mod support directly in the game, so more than likely there'll be something I look at sometime in the future. In particular, so the one game I have going, I have about 9 hours into, and this is on the Ravenport map. We're going to be doing a different map though. You know what, I'm going to start using my controller. I will be using a controller for this, so let's get the mouse out of the way though if we're going to be using it. Not using it, I mean. So we're going to be doing a new game, and I'm still a new player, so I'm going to be playing on New Farmer mode. But pretty much the different modes here are going to determine what your start is. So we're going to go with New Farmer. I'm already doing Ravenport in my other playthrough, so I want to do the other map. So there's only 2 maps in the base game, and this is where your mod support would really come in, because there's a lot of maps in the mod community from what I understand. But I still haven't experienced the base levels too much, or maps. Ravenport, again, I've played on. Fellsbrunn here, I don't really have any experience with. I loaded into the map to see what it's like, basically, to get a little bit of planning ahead of time, but I haven't done any play on this at all, so we'll see how it goes. So go ahead and continue. You can do some character customization, but the character customization is fairly limited, so I'm not even going to showcase it here. It's really just really basic character subtypes, which almost you have no choices of. Hairstyle doesn't matter if you're wearing a hat, which I am. There's a lot of hats. That's one of your main areas, and most of the hats are just the various companies that exist in the game. There's a lot of companies in the game, and yes, they are real companies, which is cool. You can have a jacket, which is really just like a leather vest that looks kind of weird. Everybody has the same base flannel shirt, and then you can pick what color the shirt is, so this is the color I went with. So that's all you got, and then you get an accessory. It's either sunglasses or no sunglasses, so we're going with sunglasses. Alright, let's go ahead and continue. These are all the DLC that I have, which I can deselect if I don't want to use any of them. I don't know why I do that, but that's a thing. So let's start, and we'll load into the map. So Ravenport's supposed to be in the US. Fellsbrunn here is supposed to be in Europe. I don't know exactly where. I would guess Germany, because I believe this is a German game. There might be a real location called this. I haven't really looked into that, though. Honestly, I don't know where Ravenport's supposed to be either. I don't think it really says. Alright, so here we are. I'm going to immediately need to do a bunch of things, though, to set up our game here. So I'm going to pause, because when you're in the menus... well, first I'm going to get rid of that menu. I'm going to pause, because while you're in the menus, you don't pause time. So that's something that you really have to get used to with this game. But you can open up a lot of your menus. The one thing we can't look at is the store while it's paused, which is somewhat inconvenient, because there's a lot of things in the store. In any case, this is our map. And to show real quick... our land is going to, if I select this, is going to be highlighted in green here. So we have 2 plots of land, and our main plot, which is labeled 20 here on the map. Let's go back to this view. Our main plot here is going to have our farm, our farmhouse, and a lot of our equipment is everything here. And then we have 2 fields, 20 and 19. Now, right now, we have wheat, we have fruit type selected. So these two fields were or are wheat, but we could go to growth and see what point they are in. So right now, field 19 is ready for harvest, and we're going to be doing that fairly early. The other one is counted as harvested, so it is pretty much a blank slate, and we can do a bunch of things with it. But we can see there's a bunch of other colors that determine like what the state of the field is, and it does go through the process of all the things that you would do to grow your crops and process them and all that. And then we'll go over those steps in due time. I really like this view. Hey, Ursi. Because I like to know what the state of my fields are. And I think that's more important than what's on the field, because I should be remembering what that is. At least I would hope so. You also have soil composition. So this is going to let you know if you need to weed, fertilize, other things that you may need to do. A couple of these that will be important is needs plowing and needs lime. We're not really going to worry about plowing so much because it really is dependent on what crops you grow. Is this map menu pretty quiet? Yeah, there's not going to be any more music in the game from here on out. So which it didn't really matter that I trusted that except for that really beginning part. So yeah, you're not going to be hearing any music for the rest of the game. You can have a radio when you're in when you're in your tractors and things, but I don't know if that's copyrighted music or not, so I'm gonna not do that for this bit. But in any case, yeah, if you want, there is in-game music when you're in your tractor. I think you can also set up the options to have the radio play whenever if you like, but for right now, yeah. And we can also select a bunch of things in the legend and stuff, but the basic thing here is which fields are ours, the ones in green, and what their current state is. So moving on, we have various prices for all of the goods. One of the learning processes you have to go through with this game is learning what the symbols mean, because there's no tooltip for it. There is a guide later on that will tell you what the symbols more. Searching for the location. I mainly get videos for the game, including guides of where to start. I think it's fictional. Yeah, I would assume so as well. But in any case, yeah, so this is wheat. This is barley, this is oats, canola, sunflower, soybean, so on and so forth. You kind of learn the symbols as you go. Some of them are kind of self-explanatory. Like this one's corn. It looks like corn. That one's easy. Wheat and barley starts to be a little bit, you know, very similar, but you learn them after time. So what we're looking at here is for wheat. Let's just focus on wheat because we have a field that's going to be wheat here soon. We have all the different locations that would buy wheat and what price they would currently buy it for. And we can see that different locations are going to have different amounts. This green little triangle here means that their price is currently rising. Red triangle over here means it's currently lowering. So you can expect if you were going there right now, like you had a bunch of sunflower seeds, and you're going to sell it at the grain mill here, this price is lowering at the moment. So it would drop before you got there. So yeah, you probably would want to go to the grain elevator east, or frankly, you would want to go to one of these other locations, probably the train station here, where it's worth very much this more. We also see silos owned and capacity. So we do have a silo on our property, and that's where we can store grain. And we can see that some of these grains we already have in storage, which is nice. It gives us kind of a head start financially, because we could immediately go and take these sunflower seeds, for example, and sell them to the train station mill for almost $1,600. Now, this is per 1,000 liters, I believe, is how this price works. I may not be getting that correct, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. So this is where a lot of your financial stuff, and there is a lot of goods in this game that you can scroll all the way through. One we're going to really be particularly interested in is eggs. I only have 2 fields, which the Ravenport map you have 4. Now the fields are smaller on Ravenport, but you have more of them. So I think I want to buy some chickens, and we can use our fields to kind of finance that. So this is going to be one of the goods we were really concerned about. And we'll go into chickens as we go, what we're going to need for that. It's a fairly simple animal to take care of. It depends. There's a whole bunch of animals in the game, and some of them are more complicated to take care of. Some of them are more simple. Chickens are probably one of the simplest. But the other 2 we're going to be concerned about is wheat and barley, which is probably what we're going to be growing to work with those chickens. We have all the vehicles that we have. There's another view that's probably better for this because you could actually see pictures of what they are and everything. But the New Holland TX32 is going to be our harvester. The New Holland TX32 header is the header for the harvester. You'll see what a header is as we go. This guy here is our cultivator. We have a couple different tractors that are of the same type. So this Fendt Favorite 511C, we have 2 of those. We have, I think the Agco 650 is a weight that you put on the front of your tractor. Again, you'll see that in a bit. The Amazon here is going to be our seeder. We have a Fiat 1300 DT. So we have 3 tractors. This is our 3rd tractor. We'll probably sell 1 because I don't think we need 3 tractors. And then this guy here is probably our trailer. I'm not sure on that one 100%, but I'm going to guess this is a trailer because that's kind of your starting equipment. This, you can take loans and stuff. I'm going to try not to take loans. We do start with $100,000. That's one thing I'm going to change because we're in Europe. I'm going to change our currency here in a bit. We have animals. We don't have any yet, so that's, fine. There are contracts we can take. These are kind of like quests, and if you do them, you get a reward. This one, the transporting, I've never really done one of these, so I don't really know what they all entail, but most of them, it's going to be a specific job you're doing. So fertilizing, if you do this guy's field, fertilizing his field 24, he'll give you this much money. If you don't have the equipment to do the job he's asking you to do, you can always borrow his items from him, but you will lose some of the money you would be paid. In this case, it'd be $346 would be removed from the pay that we would get here. We also have harvesting and other things, and these will pop up as time goes on. And if ever, like for example, field 24, where is that? I just look on the map and I look around for field 24. It's probably somewhere around here because these usually are ordered together. Oh, I see it. It's right there. So if I bring the map over, yeah, 24 is over here. So it's not that far away from us, but it's a decent distance. Okay, moving on. Statistics, we're not really too worried about this. Now, this is what we're going to really want to set up. So this is a lot of our settings here. So going through, I'm going to leave most of the stuff default. So we've got economic difficulty. There's 3 selections: easy, normal, hard. This is going to determine your buying and selling prices. So if I were to immediately turn this to easy, we would see the prices in that previous chart we looked at would go up dramatically. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep it on normal. Even though I am a beginning player, I think I can manage with that. But we have a whole bunch of other things, most of which I'm not going to touch. The main one I'm going to touch is going to be plant growth. It's set to fast. I really don't like that. I'm going to set it to normal. I feel like with fast, it's too fast. It doesn't really give you time to think. I like to have the ability to do things in between managing my fields. For example, maybe taking some of those contracts. And if you have it on fast, I really just don't feel like it's probably more of a problem on Ravenport because you have more fields to contend with. But while you're working on one field, the other field's all like, it skips past the different stages too quickly and sometimes doesn't give you the time to do what you need to do because there's certain things you have to do at certain stages of growth. And if you just don't have the time to do that, it passes by before you can do it. So, okay. So that was the main thing we needed to change. The other thing I'm going to change is going to be our money unit. So I'm going to change that back to the default, which is euros. And we're going to go all euro setup here, more or less, to simulate where we are. I have a feeling this is going to also affect my other playthrough, but it's a simple enough thing to change, and it's pretty much has an immediate effect. So not a real big deal here. We also have like keybinds and things we can mess with as well. And this here is your kind of help guide. So if you're having a hard time with like, what do the different symbols mean? They do have this stuff in here. It's a lot to look at, but it's something you can take little bites out of. There are tutorials in the game as well that teach you a lot of the stuff too. So you're not having to start from complete scratch, but even with all this stuff, this game has a lot to learn. All right, so that's enough with all of our settings. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to set up our farm here. That's going to be our first day, is going to be doing a lot of that. To do a lot of that, we're going to manage our equipment, and we have to go to our shop. Now, one thing that's good about this map is the shop is pretty much right down the road. It's like right here. That's really close, which is nice, as it will give us a lot of access to getting goods, and we'll change somewhat what we will need. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. We're going to take a real quick peek because I'm going to have to unpause at this point what our equipment is. So this is your store where you can buy a bunch of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and go to the garage. So these are our 2 tractors, the fence that we're going to keep. But we have an extra tractor I feel like we don't need, the Fiat here. Now, the advantage of the Fiat is it has good power, 150 horsepower versus 115. But it doesn't have very many upgrade options, and it can't attach anything to the front like these 2 tractors can. I believe these tractors are just better. I mean, they're worth more. We have our harvester. We have our trailer. We have a header. This is our cultivator, our seeder, and then we have a couple weights, and then we have our buildings. So, silo, that's good. This farm barn is entirely a cosmetic building, and we do not need it. The farmhouse we definitely need. The farm storage shelter, this is kind of cosmetic, but it's still useful. But farm barn, we don't need. We're going to sell it right now and get 50,000 euros right now. So I'm going to sell it just to show it what it is before I do that, though. See that building right across the way here? This is that barn. You can't, there's nothing inside it. There is like a little garage door, but it's not really practical to use it. So I'm just going to get rid of it. It'll free up some space and give us some money immediately. So that's one thing we're going to do. So we're going to sell the farm barn and get 50,000 euros. And we'll see that that has now disappeared. Okay, so the next step I'm going to do, because this thing's kind of in my way, is I'm going to sell the Fiat. Now the Fiat, the reason why I'm selling it is it doesn't have a lot of upgrade options. And it is really slow, as we can see. This is the maximum speed for this tractor, 25 kilometers an hour, which is god-awful slow. Now, there might be some applications where you'd really want to use this tractor, and honestly, using it with certain equipment would make a certain amount of sense. It does have power, and some tools require a certain amount of power to work. So this does give you a little bit of leeway, but I'm going to show you there's some things we can do to modify our other tractors that will kind of close that gap anyway, and it won't really matter. But as soon as I'm done with this, I am going to do our harvesting, because I think that would be nice to get our fields kind of going. I can hear it motor working. Yeah, it's chugging along there. As you... All right, so this is where we can modify or sell vehicles. Now, you can sell vehicles anywhere, and as well as your tools, but you'll lose 20% of the value if you do that. It's much better if you bring it to this little area. You can see the little box here you put it in. So through this, we can sell it for more than we would have before. And I think you could have saw before, like how much I would have gotten out of it and the difference. We'll go ahead and sell this because, again, we don't need 3 tractors. Now, you can play this multiplayer, and if I was playing this multiplayer, maybe there would be a reason to keep that other tractor. Now, I'm not going to do this too often, but just to show you that this is something I can do. I can immediately transport into any vehicle I own. There's also a train that you can use to haul various goods, which is what I just jumped into. This is one of our tractors. This is our other one. And here is our harvester. So we're going to start with the harvester here. So first thing I need to do is my header is not attached to my harvester. The header is the little tool on the front that is going to pull in the grain that we want to harvest. So I'm going to go ahead and hit A and attach that to me. Now I have to do some step stuff. So first I have to unfold the harvester, which is going to open up the cargo chute in the back, which you can see right there. And you'll see as we move along here, that area will fill up with grain. So this does have some storage on it, which is nice. We're going to need to turn on the harvester, and we're just going to start moving. Now I'm going to leave on the setting to create straw. So right now we're pooping out some straw out the back, and we can collect that later either to sell it, or you can, if you do have certain animals, you can use that straw for the animals. I don't think chickens require straw, so it's not going to be something we need for that. But for right now, it's pretty simple. We're just going to move through our field, chop up our grain, raise up that. Alright, so I have a particular style of how I do my field work here. with the harvester, which is to kind of go in circles around the field like this. The reason why I do it this, I make right turns consistently, is because there's a pipe on the left side of my harvester, and once I get full, which the size of this field's pretty big, I might get full before we're done, I can dump it off into our trailer that we saw earlier without the harvester having to move. I can just park it wherever, raise out that pipe, and then just put the trailer underneath it and it will dump. Hopefully we're having a smooth frame rate. I set up the settings for my own play rather than streaming too, and there's obviously overhead when you're streaming. So I'm not sure how smooth the game's running so far. I don't notice anything, but if you guys notice anything, just let me know. But yeah, I have the graphics like in the settings like really cranked up. Not as high as they can possibly go, but pretty darn close to as high as they can go. So I usually go past the field a little bit and then just do a smooth reverse. The other way you can do this is just go back and forth, but I just find with the harvester, it's a little easier to just do this. It depends on what your property is like. The one thing that's nice about this property is it's fairly flat. We do have some trees there that are probably part of our land, and there is forestry in this game, so that is something we could do with this bit in the back of our property, but right now I'm not going to really worry about a lot of that stuff. But with this strategy I'm using, I think it works really nicely if you have more hilly terrain, which is what you have on Ravenport. All your fields have at least one side of the field that has a pretty it has problems with like hills and elevation. It can be kind of tricky to move your big harvester around if you're doing the back and forth technique. But it's another strategy you can use. I just like this strategy because if I get full, I'm always ready to go to dump. I'm not a farmer in real life, and I don't really know the strategies real farmers use all that much. But this might be something real farmers do. I really don't know. Then again, it might be something a real farmer would never do. Now, there are some things you can do if you don't want to be so hands-on in this game and you're more interested in managing this as a company. You can see that selection up in the upper left there to hire a worker. I could hire an AI worker and he would just do this field for me. Personally, with the small of a property as we have and only 2 fields to manage, I don't think that makes a lot of financial sense for me to do. But if I had more fields and a lot more property, I could definitely see somebody doing that as you get into the late game. But essentially, what my strategy is going to be with this... Oh, I forgot what my my setup was for a second there, and because I was thinking about strategy and stuff. I should have made a right turn there. My bad. Alright, let's get back on track. Anyway, so as I was saying, the strategy of this farm for the meantime is going to be, we're going to do our harvesting here and get our wheat. I'm not going to sell the wheat immediately, regardless of how good I think that price is. Instead, I'm going to keep it for a bit. And we're going to look to getting chickens. That's my goal. I already kind of talked about it. And our fields are going to work towards making our chickens work without us having to buy anything. We're going to... I don't know if we'll need both fields for that. I doubt it. So I think that smaller field, so this is our large field. The other one to our left right now is our... Actually, no, not to our left, to our right. That guy over there where our tractor is. That one I think I'm going to make barley. And the reason why I'm thinking barley is chickens will eat both wheat and barley. But barley is going to give you greater volume. It's not worth as much, but it gives you greater volume. And I don't think the chickens are going to care how much the barley is worth. They're going to more care about whether or not they can eat it. So I think it makes a lot of sense to have our smaller field there be barley. It'll give us a good high volume output. And that might be all we need. But I've never raised chickens before. I really don't know what to expect. I know what I need, but I don't know the actual processes, and we might learn some things along the way. Okay, so we're going to do our reverse here. I always pull forward a little bit just to make the reverse a little smoother, so that I'm more or less lined up and ready to go. And I find with this strategy, it really doesn't matter too much if I drive in a straight line. I mean, I'm trying to drive in straight lines, but then again, I really don't care. It's more just about making sure I get all the grain. Now, I will point out that one of the settings I have does allow for crop damage. So if I'm not paying attention and I drive over my crops, I will damage them. So I have to be careful. Make sure my turns are not going to back into the grain or the wheat. I also have to keep mindful of my storage in my harvester, which you can see down on the right. You'll see fuel, maintenance status, and my current speed. But right to the left of that is my storage tank. Currently there's wheat inside and how full it is. So we've got a little over 4,000 liters of wheat inside our tank, and we're currently, well, we just jumped up to 79% capacity. So once I get close to 100, which we're going to get at some point before we're done with this field, because this field's fairly large compared to what you get on Ravensport. In Ravensport, the field's there, I could do the whole field and I wouldn't be full. There's one larger field. That one you probably would, but the 3 smaller fields, you could do the whole thing and you'd be fine. And it's one of the smaller fields that you start with the harvesting. So this is kind of a nice start because they give us the big field harvest, which gives us a lot of resources out the gate. So I'm just keeping an eye on that storage. Once I get to, I don't know, like 98, 99, I'm probably going to want to stop. Because I don't want it to get to 100, because if it gets to 100, my header will stop collecting the wheat, and I'll just run over my crops and damage them. So don't want to do that. Wouldn't be the end of the world if that happened, but I'd lose out on some of the wheat we could collect. And this is where this strategy, we're going to see why I did what I did with that setup. Oh, you know one thing I forgot to change? I forgot to change the field of view. I think I have it set to 80 degrees. I meant to bump that up a bit. Hopefully it doesn't give you guys any motion sickness. That's probably good enough, 89%. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. We're going to have the pipe come out, and I'm going to need to go get one of my tractors. And as I said, I'm going to try not to fast travel too much, so we're going to be doing more walking on foot. I want to, you know, feel the more simulation experience here, so I'm going to have to go run over to my... I could have just teleported into it instantly, but I'm going to go run over to one of my tractors here. I think this one over here is probably more set up to do what we want. Okay, so this tractor is set up for our seeder. Oh yeah, this is our farmhouse. So when we're done with the night, we're going to sleep there, but it's not time for that yet. So this guy here, yeah, lets you see the farm walking around. So what we have set up here is our seeder and a counterbalance weight. So just to show that, there's the weight, and then the seeder will go on the back, and we more or less haul that behind us. So that's why we have the weight in the front, to counterbalance the weight of the cedar behind us. But we don't need either of these things right now, so just drop the cedar. And the weight, I could keep on the front of me. It doesn't really matter, but I think I'm just going to stick it over here because we don't really need it for this bit. All right, let's grab our trailer. This trailer is different than the one you get in Ravensport, so I don't know what its capacity is going to be. But it should be an alright amount. Okay. We're probably going to need to open the cover. There we go. So I'm just going to pull this guy up in behind or next to our harvester with the trailer underneath the pipe, and it will offload the grain. Like so. I am not going to sit around and wait for that to happen. It's going to take some time. So let's just run around here, because I can do some things to set up things for the future. So one thing I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to want to get rid of is the cultivator that we have. It is the cheapest cultivator in the game, and although you can use it and there would be nothing wrong with using it, it sucks. It is a terrible time. It only covers a 3-meter area, and it takes forever to do it that way. And then, so the process would be cultivation, sowing, so using your seeder to sow. Then you would do fertilization, and optionally, you can do crop protection, spraying with herbicide or whatever. But we can make it easier on ourselves with certain equipment, because certain equipment can multitask, so we don't have to do each of those things as an individual step. So that's going to be one of the things we look for to do. So I'm going to probably take this cultivator to the store and sell it. But for right now, I think our grain's probably filled up here. So let's go take a look at that. I can see the grain in the back there, so this trailer may not have the most storage. We'll see how full it is here in a second. 51%, that's still not bad. We can use it another time. I'm just going to pull it off to the side here so it's out of the way. Okay. That should do it. I don't think it would have been in the way if I kept it where it was, but that's fine. Now we can leave the pipe out if we so choose, but that's alright. I'll just go ahead and pull it back in, turn our harvester back on, and just get back working. So we know we can dump off to that trailer at least one more time, which honestly we might need to do because this field is fairly large. I wonder if a mod lets you have a farm in Fiji with a cat. I believe that's a Red Dwarf reference somebody's throwing out there. Well, you can breed horses in that game, so that's good. Or in this game, I mean. That's so there's two animals I don't really know too much about. So the animals that I'm aware of that you can play with the game is chickens, which is what we're going to aim for, sheep, cows, pigs, and horses. I don't know a whole lot about how the horses work. I have a vague idea, and I don't really know too much about the pigs. Cows I know a little bit about, although I've never done it. Mostly because there's a lot of infrastructure in this game specifically for the cows. So you kind of learn the stuff about the cows just through all of the equipment in the game that are designed around dealing with cows. Sheep are fairly simple, from what I understand. It's just they eat grass and hay. So get a field with grass in it and mow the grass, dump the grass into the feeding bin, and then you're pretty much done. Hey, Delta class. Going pretty well. So we just started a new playthrough here. And we're just going through the process to get everything going. But I think the amount of stuff you can do in this game is what really sold it to me. I've never played any of the Farming Simulator games before this. And this may sound silly, but there's a Farming Simulator League, which is like a competitive esport kind of thing. And I saw one of their streams on Twitch for one of their tournaments. And that was actually really a big contributor of why I got into this, because I was at that right time where I was going down a simulator rabbit hole with Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator. And I'd never played one of these games before. And I just thought I'd give it a go, and then the Steam Summer Sale happened, and I picked up all the DLC and everything. And I've really been enjoying it so far. But yeah, the Farm Simulator League is, it's kind of weird, like, to think about that this could be a competitive game, but it's like, pretty much the process they do is they have a big field of wheat, so kind of what we're doing right now. And how you score is you have harvesters that pick up the grain, but it's not the grain that scores, it's the straw bales that do. So you leave the straw trail like we're doing, and you get a baler and you turn the straw into a bale, and then you take the bale to a hayloft, and that's how you score. So it's kind of interesting, and they do it obviously through a time limit. But it's pretty fun to watch. At least for me it is. There's a lot more complication to it than that too, but that's the simple premise, is grab the bales and then store them for points. Alright. Yeah, so this field looks like it's going to take a while. If my trailer gets filled up, I might go ahead. Well, I really don't want to stop processing this field. I really want to get it done. So we'll just keep working on it. Because once we're done with the two fields here, we're going to have a lot of time to take care of things. So what I'm going to do after this is all harvested, is we're going to take and set up the equipment we're going to need for the rest of our setup. So things I'm going to need. So I talked about earlier what the process of going through this, the simple process of going through growing crops. So you have cultivation. So once we're done harvesting here, just like the field to our left, which is already harvested, at least that's the state it's in right now. Once we're done with that, we're going to want to cultivate. Once we're cultivated, we can plant our seeds. And then once we're done with that, we're technically done with the basics of what you need. But if you want more yield, you're going to want to fertilize your crops and make sure that weeds don't grow. Because fertilization is going to give you a bonus to your yield, and weeds are going to give you a penalty to your yield. So those are two things that we're going to concern ourselves with as well. So we're going to need a means to do both of those things. And with the fertilization, you have to do it in two different stages. Your first stage is when you first plant. You can pretty much do it immediately after you have done so. The second stage has to happen after the crops have grown to a midpoint. And we might need specialty equipment for each of those stages depending on what our strategy is going to be. So that's kind of the basics of what we're going to need for the crops. We're also going to need some equipment to take care of our chickens once we have that in place. So we'll need a little extra equipment, but not a whole lot. Nothing really major. Because all we need for the chickens is to get them food. Well, we're already kind of doing that right now. And then the trailer is going to be how we drop off the food, so we have that checked off. So other than that, the only thing we need for the chickens is to clean up their area. So that will be one of our concerns, to make sure that the coop doesn't get too messy. Because the animals will make a mess and we're going to have to clean it up. Fairly simple to take care of, so not a big deal there. But I will point out, this is the theory. I've never actually done any of these things in practice, so we'll see how it goes. Well, yeah, we're slowly chipping away at the field here. How are we doing on our storage capacity? We're at 87%. Yeah, I didn't quite realize how big this field is. It's pretty big. All right. So if the field on my left is going to be barley, and that's going to be mostly what we grow for the chickens, I can grow whatever I want here in this bigger field. I could just keep doing wheat. Because another way to maybe optimize our farm here is we only have 2 fields. But we can squeeze a lot of money out of this thing by also collecting the straw. So that might be something we want to look towards, is collecting the straw and selling it. Because the straw is money on the table. I could leave it, or I can collect it and make money off of it. It really depends on how much funds we have. Oh! See, there's me not paying attention. I just ran over a bunch of my crops. So that's what happens if you do that. Whoops. Well, at least it gives you the idea of what not to do. Alright, let's go get our trailer. Alright. One of the settings I did change from default as well. Mouse Gunner, aka Mouse Trucker, Mouse Farmer, Mouse Runner. You're giving me all these names based off the games I've played. Alright, here we go. And again, I'm not going to wait around for that because it's going to take a little bit of time. Let's get our other tractor over and start getting some of the things I'm going to want. So one thing that we can do, and this is kind of a cool interaction, that it takes a little bit of learning how the game works. So I think I'm going to keep the seeder, but the seeder, the problem it has is if we come over to the proper entry. So this one here is the one we have, the D830. And we can see right now some attributes about it. It's going to show us, let me use my mouse pointer here. It's going to show us what kind of crops it can seed. Or plant, I guess. So we've got wheat, barley, oats, canola, soybeans, and I think this one is the oilseed horseradish or something, and then this is grass. So those are all the things that you can grow. The area it covers, so 3 meters, and other various things like power requirements. This is usually going to be very important for us. Thankfully, it's not that high, so we're not too worried about that. The capacity of seeds it can hold, and other various things. But other seeders can do more things. So this guy can just sow fields. That's all it can do. But if we click over one, this guy also does that, but additionally, it also does not need cultivation or plowing before use. So it's a multi-tool. It kind of does its cultivating as it goes, which is nice. This guy over here is not only going to do cultivating, it's also going to do fertilization at the same time, something we mentioned that we need. But we don't have to get rid of this guy, because you see this puzzle piece? This is a piece of equipment that we can attach to it. Whenever you see a puzzle piece, that means that a piece of equipment can attach to this equipment. What is that equipment? Well, this is where learning the game kind of comes in play. So the equipment in question is a power harrower, and it's this guy here, the MKE 300. And this does cultivation for us. So we just mentioned that one-seater doesn't need a cultivator. It kind of self-cultivates. Well, through this, we can kind of turn our seeder into that. It takes two pieces of equipment to do it, but if we look at the difference in the cost, that actually makes a lot of sense for us, because this guy is 30,000 euros, this guy's only 13, and honestly, we already have it, so we'd have to sell it and we'd lose some value on it. And this guy only costs 15. So we can get that same value by picking this up. Now, this does have a larger power requirement of 95, but we should still be within that because our tractor has 115 horsepower, which we can increase. So I'm going to go ahead and buy that now. So this is where you could do customization if there was any options, but there isn't any for this one. So just go ahead and buy that. I was going to pop over to the store. We'll pick that up in a bit. So that's why I'm going to sell my cultivator, because I just bought one. I just bought a Power Harrow is a cultivator. So we're going to be selling our cultivator because we're not going to need it at that point. So we will pay for some of the cost of that cultivator we just picked up by selling the one we start with.